Hello, 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 Facebook. How are we doing today? My name is Loop Story. We are here for episode 2 of Loop StoryTime. Got a great set for you, got a great show for you tonight. We have special guest Mark Megabot of Colorado's own Face Vocal Band join us at the second half of this set. In the meanwhile, sit back, kick your feet up, grab a drink, grab a smoke, do whatever you need to do, and we're going to get this party started. Thank you, thank you, thank you. Welcome, welcome for those of you who are joining us and tuning in and partying with us on this gorgeous, gorgeous evening. We woke up a little bit from that cold snap, so it's nice to be able to not be freezing cold. For those who want to know about the personal life, you know, we had a pipe bust in our garage last night, so that was awful. Thankfully, nothing too severely has been ruined, and we got everything out and dried up, and it's not ideal, but it's good. And so I get to make music, and nothing severe was damaged. So I'm here tonight, and thank you all for being here with me. We're gonna kick this off, or the next song off, with something you guys have heard before, but it's fun, so we're gonna keep playing it. Thank you. Yes, that was an Alyssa request. No buttons. Thank you, Willie. Yeah, this jacket right here is a gift from Miss Alyssa Montano for Christmas. I've been digging the suit jacket approach lately. So thank you guys so much for watching. Thank you so much for being here. If you do like what you see, peep out down below. We have the virtual tip jar going right now. My Venmo is at loop-story. The more that you guys support, the less I have, or the more time I get to spend down here making great music for you guys. So if you're able to support, awesome. If it's not financial, please share the page, share this with your friends, tell your friends about it. Would love to continue this growing. I'm going to play some Bill Withers for you guys next. Yes, indeed, it is a lovely, lovely day. I got a few more songs for you guys tonight. Thank you so much for being here. We are kicking it off to Mark Megabot in 8 minutes to talk to him about life, music, and everything in between. Thank you guys so much for watching. Shoes and I boarded the plane, touchdown in the land of the Delta Blues in the middle of pouring rain. WC Handy, won't you look down over me? I got a first class ticket and I'm as blue as fuck can be. And I'm walking to Memphis, walking with my feet 10 feet off. Delta Blues in the middle of the pouring rain. Touchdown in the land of the Delta Blues. in the middle of the pouring rain. Thank you very much. Okay, this last song for you guys before we take it over to the interview section. This is a new song for me. It's kind of the most stuff I got going on. Let me know first if you like the multicam. Wrong one. Let me know if you like the multicam right here. I'm starting to incorporate a little bit more production with my show. So if you're a fan of the, if you like the production, if you like what you're seeing, just smash that like bar, smash that share. If you are enjoying what you are seeing and are able to nominally support, we got the Loop Story virtual tip jar that the more that you guys support, the less or the more time I got to spend in here and less out driving DoorDash to be able to pay my bills. So thank you guys so much. Last song of the night is going to be some Justin Timberlake for you. Sorry about that. Something glitched out. Apologize for that, guys. Something glitched out really quick. One sec. Okay, sorry about that. Had some technical difficulties on this end. Give me 5 seconds, and I will get this next song loaded up. But if while you guys are enjoying this, please let me know what you guys are thinking in the comments, and we're going to keep this going in just a sec. got it now. Sorry about that. And that's how you know it's a live show, folks. There's no such thing as mistakes. There's just happy accidents. Thank you for sticking with me as I learn through this. You guys are awesome. We're going to take a small 30-second break, and then we're back with an interview with Mark Megabot of Face Vocal Band. You guys are fantastic. Thank you so much. And ladies and gentlemen, welcome to my favorite part of the episode, the Loop Storytime interview. We have the one and only Mark Megabot from Face Vocal Band sitting in with us today. Mark, how are you doing, man?
Doing great, Luke. Thanks for having me on here.
Of course. I knew when I had the opportunity to start sitting down with musicians. You have been a huge factor in my career as a looping musician, as well as with Float Like a Buffalo and all those opportunities that you've been able to be a part of with us. And so I knew I just wanted to get to see behind the curtain. We've talked a little bit, but haven't been able to really go into detail about you. And so let's kick this off early. Tell us about yourself, man. Tell us how you got started.
How I got started? Well, I got started in, I grew up in Topeka, Kansas. I have known since I was 6 or 7 years old that I wanted to be on stage in one way or another. And there's a story around that, but we can get to it or not. But it didn't matter for me what I did on stage. When I was younger, I actually was more focused on being a stage actor. And I did all sorts of productions on stage through high school. And that included musicals. I've always loved to sing, and so singing has always been a big part of my life. It always got me a lot of positive attention, even as a little kid. So that was always positively reinforced. But my one true love in the performance world has always been percussion. I started playing drums in 3rd grade, and that took me all the way into college. I was essentially a percussion major. I was a music ed major in college, but percussion has always been my instrument, and everything about percussion. I went to Northwestern University, which of course is much more classically focused. So I have a classical training background, but I also at the same time was playing in loud, obnoxious rock bands in Chicago, and I've played in pit orchestras. I'm a huge marching band geek, and so yeah, like you name it, if you can label it percussion, I've played it. I love it, and that took me to, so it was in college that the combination of percussion and singing introduced me to this thing called a cappella, which I had never heard of before as a thing. And some friends of mine said, "Hey, we're going to start this a cappella group." I'm like, "What's that?" And they played me a cassette tape. They played me a cassette tape of the Bobs, and the Bobs did pretty much all rock and pop music. And it was just 4 people, and I'm listening to it, and they're like, "That's just voices. That's just voices." I'm like, "What are you talking about?" Because frankly, I knew about things like barbershop quartets, and there was vocal jazz ensembles and stuff. Those things weren't necessarily my interest. When they said that we could sound like a rock band, but just using our voices, I was all in on that. And so I sang with the group at Northwestern for about 4 years. Still, beatboxing still was a tiny part of that. I really didn't get into it that much, and I listened to old recordings, and it was like, meh. So fast forward to when I moved here to Colorado, and Face Vocal Band was just getting started. When I auditioned, I told them I could beatbox, and they took me at my word, and so then I really had to learn. And that's now been, as of this fall, that'll be a 20-year project.
Wow.
That I've been doing, and that's really when I became a beatboxer is in these last 20 years. But all of that background, the percussion, the singing, the performance, loving to be on stage, and loving rock music, all of that kind of that's been my whole life, and it kind of took me to where I am with Face today.
That's awesome, man. Beatboxing it's such a fascinating craft because there's so many degrees of what it
Hmm.
is, because when the average person tries to beatbox, it's like boots and cats and boots and cats and boots, and you go from that to what you do with face, which is it creates such a cool organic sound. Then you go even further with the guys who have the vocal synthesis on their
Yeah,
vocal, and that they're going, like we've talked about it before, that goes anywhere from standard a cappella to heavy electronic to like classic rock, where they have synthesizer and modulators on their voice that are making them sound
right.
like lead guitars.
Exactly, exactly. And I've started delineating in my head because I say beatboxing because that's the frame of reference for people, but I actually don't consider myself a beatboxer. I'm a drummer in a band. I use my mouth to do that, right? I use beatbox sounds to do that. But what I focus on and what I specialize in is sounding like a drummer, and I use beatboxing for that. So I consider beatboxing to be really a soloistic art, and there's a lot more breadth and a lot more stuff that beatboxers can do. I would even say there's a lot of things that most beatboxers can do, that basic beatboxers can do, that I can't do.
Hmm.
And because I've never had to, I came into beatboxing from this concept of a cappella and being a drummer in a band. And so everything that I've done has been trying to emulate what I used to do with real drums, but just doing it with my face. And so I've never really studied the broader art of beatboxing that much. And it's why I don't battle. People are like, oh, Mark, you should go do beatbox battle. And I'm like, no, I would not make it very far in a beatbox battle. I mean, I'm the guy. I can get on stage and I can beatbox for 2 hours straight. But would you want to hear a drum set player play a drum set for 2 hours straight? Maybe not. So that's for me. That's a huge distinction, that just in my own mind, in terms of what I do versus what I hear beatboxers do. When I hear real beatboxers, man, I'm blown away. I'm just
Oh,
like, wow.
just I've been, since I started getting in the looping project, I've been doing just a ton of research and following a lot of beatboxers on Facebook, because that's the loop station that I use, the RC505. That's primarily used by beatboxers because you have so many vocal synthesis and you can create all the tracks. And they're like, okay, yeah, just make this little, or we're just gonna put a few effects on. This is gonna be our drum sound. And I'm like, I I don't even know. Like, show me what's going on here. Don't show me what's going on. I like. Can I get an X-ray of the inside of your mouth to figure out how you're going with like such a
which which
clear sound?
that now exists, right? I have now seen published in the last year or so. I don't know if it was ultrasound or X-ray, but there was profile, there was straight on, and there was also camera down the throat of a professional beatboxer, and showing what all of the different. I think it was more for speech language pathologists who
Yeah,
study,
I
but
I'm
it
gonna
was
watch that
cool.
now. That's awesome.
Yeah,
That's super super cool.
I'm like, wow, that's what I look like when I do that. That's kind of gross.
Oh, I can only imagine, and it's like you said, vocal synthesis versus just being like. I think your distinction being a drummer in a band versus being a soloistic beatboxer, because beatboxers, they are the solo ones. They do everything.
Everything.
They cover all the vocal spectrum. They cover the harmonies, the melodies, the everything, and then you have the opportunity to just lay it down with and like what. And we can bring up this conversation a little bit later, but like I remember you and I talked a while back about the arrangement of a cappella versus the arrangement of any other music, and you have experimented with different arrangements, that the bigger isn't always better, more isn't always better in a cappella,
Right.
and it's a lot simpler in certain arrangement techniques. You have to go to create the aesthetic appeal that creates an a cappella song that slaps, with a better term, or with a lack of better term.
Yeah.
um but that's cool, man. um so then, like, you were a drummer, you were a vocalist, you were a singer. Then Face, like, how did Face is 20 years old, started in Boulder, Colorado. That's 20 years old. Congratulations to you. Like,
Yeah.
to
It's
make
like,
you feel a little
ooh,
bit to make you feel a
wow.
little bit older. I remember hearing about you guys in high school,
Yeah.
and it was just like, because band nerd, marching band nerd, but on the instrumental side of it, where it was
Uh-huh.
like I had choir friends who knew all about it. And it's like this Boulder group, this Boulder group, this Boulder group, and I've shared videos of you guys when I was like 19 years old, and I'm like, oh, this is awesome. And so tell me a little bit about the Face journey that you guys started on the streets of Boulder, Pearl Street Mall, to internationally touring, to Red Rocks, to everything that you guys have done in between.
Well, it has been the stuff of dreams, to be sure. I mean, again, when I say I've known my whole life that I wanted to be a performer, it still took me until Face to start checking off all the boxes that I've always
Mm.
had. And I mean, I've been on stage constantly in one way, shape, or form, and it's all been awesome, and I've loved all of it. Some of it made some money, most of it didn't. But that's is my passion, it's my heart, and so I could never quit. And there was always that feeling inside me that you know, I'm just as good as anyone else I've ever seen. You know, and maybe I can't do what that guy does as good as that guy does, but I can do what I do as good as what I do. and um, and Face is made up of a bunch of guys who all kind of had that same latent sense. All of the guys come from an a cappella background, but most of them, I think I'm now the only one who didn't go to CU
Hmm.
Boulder. So most of them had either met or had heard of each other at CU Boulder. And it was after graduation that a couple of guys, Joseph and Ben, said, you know, in college, your groups have, you know, you're all college students, and not everyone takes it as seriously as others because they're focusing on their studies and stuff. All the guys in Face were the ones who were either founders, directors, leaders. They were the ones driving their college groups.
Hmm.
And so when we all kind of found each other through initially an audition process and stuff, but we were very like-minded in that we were all the ones who like, yeah, this is for fun, like we love it, but we want to do something with this. And
Hmm.
from the beginning, there was this sense of this is professional, this is a business, this is for the long haul. This is what we want to do. And so we always kind of had that shared vision. Now, Forrest is the bass. Forrest and I are the only two who would be called original members who are still left. But Cody joined after a year, and he was in for about 5, and he was out for about 5. Started a family. Now he's been back for the past um, 5, 7, 8. I don't know how the math works out, but
Hmm.
um, Driver and Steven both started around 0304. So even though they're not technically original members, the guys that are together right now in Face have been together for, you know, over 15 years.
Yeah.
Um, and uh, and so yeah, so we started off playing on Pearl Street Mall. We would play at the farmers market. The
Mm.
farmers market would take any local musician. You play for free. You know, you put out a hat for tips. And we would, our initial email list was about 200 people. It was not opt-in. If we knew you, we were emailing you, and we would say, "Hey, we're going to be playing at the Boulder Farmers Market. You should come. You should come hear us." And we started drawing crowds at the farmers market, and I think that was our first taste of, wow, this could actually be a thing. And we started booking gigs from the farmers market. People would come up and say, "Do you do private parties? Do you do stuff?" You know, and we're like, "Wow, this is a thing." And so we, after about a year, we got kicked out of the farmers market. This is a true story. We were playing; they let us play about once a month, and the crowds started getting so big. It was always in the food court. The crowds started getting so big, customers couldn't get to the booths.
Hmm.
And so the salespeople were like, we're not selling when they're playing. Like, we have, yes, it's great to have crowds of people, but we were politely asked to not come back because we were causing too much problems.
It's weird and it's better than nothing.
So we,
I think, and hopefully we look forward and hopefully we have some sort of light that we can start looking back. I hate the expression return to normalcy, but it's the best we
yeah,
got right now. And it's I feel I like you can feel the little tingles in the air that's like, okay, just just maybe, but who knows right now. Honest to God, who knows, and we have to be okay with whatever option
yeah.
happens.
And
Like,
and that's it. I'm confident in the future, but I have no idea. I have no idea what the when is. Like, but let me ask you something. Is
Yeah.
that any different than the before times? If you're in music, you can be confident about your professional prospects. The only thing you can't control is the when, right? Like, all I know is that you're going to be successful. All I know is that you've got a product that is awesome, that people will want, and uh, that's all. And all I know is that all you can do is go out there and keep putting it out there and keep putting it out there and keep putting it out there and putting it out there. And then there's this word eventually. Eventually, you will get noticed, and eventually, it will start paying dividends. It's the eventually that we can't control.
Yeah.
The only way we can control that is by our own activity, and because every time you put yourself out there, there's the odds, there's that tiny drop in the bucket where something might happen because of that instance. We had a saying in Face forever. Every gig leads to another gig. Most of our gigs got booked because of a gig. Most of the big connections that we made were because some random person was in the audience who we didn't even know was in the audience. Every gig is an audition. That's another saying that we would have. Is like every gig is an audition. Every gig leads to another gig, and that's no different now, right?
Yeah.
We have no idea when things are going to start opening up again, and we have no idea what the future is going to look like as compared to what it looked like before. But there's still a lot of stuff that is in our control, and we can still be putting ourselves out there, and we can still be creating opportunities for ourselves, and it doesn't have to be everything's on hold until, right? Like, well, when this happens, then I will feel successful. Well, no, it wasn't like that before.
Yeah.
And it's not really like that now either. I mean, we all have to work harder right now, I think.
Yeah.
Than before, and some of us got spoiled by the past 5 years, of things, really, the momentum that we had, and things were just rolling for us and stuff, and we got a little spoiled, and how hard we're working now feels a lot like how hard we were working 10 years ago.
Right.
But the question is, well, what do you want? What do you want? When do you want it? And is it still in your heart? Is that still why you're doing it? And what's drawing you forward? Yeah, I miss it. I miss it terribly. So let's do what we can in the meantime. Like I put that out to you. You and everyone paying attention to this. Do what you can in the meantime.
Awesome.
It's worth it.
Awesome. Well, I think, Mark, we're just coming down a little bit over an hour, so I think we're going to wind it down from here. You and I can honestly talk for the next 3 days if we really wanted to.
Probably.
But, ladies and gentlemen, thank you so much for tuning into this week's episode of Loop Storytime. This is Mark Megabot from Colorado's own Face vocal band, beatboxer extraordinaire, drum set player extraordinaire. Whatever works. Vocal percussionist. If you have not had a chance to listen to Face, they are fantastic. They have provided me with some life-changing experiences. So, Mark, thank you so much for being a part of this show. As per usual,
very happy to be here.
Of course, man. As per usual, this full interview will be uploaded to the Jamcast archives. If you search Jamcast on YouTube, find the full archived interview. Thank you so much for tuning in, and we will see you in 2 weeks for the next episode. Thank you so much.